Hey, everybody, welcome back once again to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast here on the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, coming to you from the Retro Wrestling Archive here in beautiful Gadsden, Alabama. And please join me in welcoming back my co-hosts. They are two podcasting All-Americans from P3 University. It's Josh Briley and Richard Mulliken of P3 Radio. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Glad to be back. Where the hell have I been?
I know, dude. I was thinking like you were never coming back. You got like lost like Uncle Fester or some shit.
Well, you know us Mullikins, we have a way of just saying, we'll be right back, and then just disappearing. Like my father. Yeah.
But you never keep it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of spoilers are going on, is all I can say. That's why you've been gone, if you know what I mean. So how was your time away, Richard? Did you do anything fun, fulfilling? Did you just need a break from us? What's up?
Oh, man. All kinds of stuff going on. And then my 20th anniversary was what happened while I was away. Wow. And then, you know, life and everything else. I'll have some life that goes on next week too. But outside of that, May 10th, I'll be completely here, I guess. Unless life comes back up.
That freaking life, you know. But you do want it, you want it to come up from time to time, or else what are you doing, right? But
right.
So before we get into this week's show, quickly, I just wanted to say I had alluded to this. I think it was maybe during last week's show, but we had talked about this a few weeks back, and I decided, well, I better put this on a poll and make sure that the audience isn't totally against this before we flat out commit to it. So I put up a poll and asked if the listeners would be cool with us after we finish 1993 here in a few weeks, because here we are in November, guys. We are almost to the end of 1993. If they would be okay if we pivoted to 1991 and did weekly reviews of 91, or does everyone have their heart set on going straight into 1994? And as of now, the poll has shown us overwhelmingly people support us doing 1991. So unless there's like a dramatic change, we're going to leave the poll open for a few more days. Unless there's like a big movement towards 94, that's going to be the plan. When we finish 93, I'm thinking maybe we take a week or two off, since we've done this consistently every week now for months. Maybe take a week or two off, and during that week or two, I'm going to need to go back and do some research on the end portion of 1990, and we might have to do a show where we kind of catch everybody up, like, okay, this is as we're going into January of 91, this is where USWA was ending 1990, and then we'll start into 1991. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, I know you guys are on board, because that's why we decided to even make it a thing. I know Josh has said numerous times he's a big fan of 91. I'm afraid Richard's going to be even more disconnected from 91 than he is 93, but I'm going to cross my fingers and see. But what do you guys think that the fact that the poll seems to be people are in agreement with doing that?
I'm just head over heels happy, man. Like, just going back to what you said, though, maybe like taking the last show of 1990, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. I think that is a year in review type thing at the very last one. So, yeah, that would be ideal for what we got going. And, like, I feel like this would be the best way to introduce people like who aren't in the know of how awesome Texas versus Tennessee was. This was like the first just huge feud that I remember, for Memphis wrestling.
And there's still, I was going to say, and there's still time to write in the Fall Guy season 1. If you guys, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see, because this is all stuff I didn't get to watch as a kid, because we didn't have cable at the time. And for whatever reason, I couldn't pick up Memphis TV here in Jackson. So it'd be interesting to see, kind of the stuff I missed, and see all the stuff that was going on before I had a chance to watch it.
Yeah, if 1990, if there was enough footage of 1990 available, I would have said let's just go to 1990 and just start from there and work our way through. But we've talked about this before. I don't know if it was on Patreon or on this show, but there's not a lot of the Memphis episodes available from 1990. A lot of what I know, like what I've got in my collection, a lot of it is the Dallas shows, which is a completely different presentation. It's I don't know. It wouldn't go along with what we've been doing. So we're going to start with 91. I'm pretty excited about it. Like Josh said, that was a pretty significant feud. You know, you got Eric Embry in there, who some people love, some people hate. But either way, most people have strong feelings about him, and I figure Richard might as well once we get through some of it. I mean, you got Tojo Yamamoto in a cowboy hat carrying the Japanese flag or Texas flag as their manager at times. You end up with a bald-headed Miss Texas at some point. It's fun. And then, of course, you got the Memphis Mafia running around with, you know, Eddie Gilbert, Doug Gilbert, Dirty White Boy, Sam Bass Lowe, I guess I should say. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be different. Like, I do want to cover 94. There are a lot of good things that go on in 94 and into 95, but I've told y'all off the air, I'm like, I feel like 94 is going to feel like a lot of the same of 93 if we just roll right into it. But I feel like if we go back and do 91 and 92, and if we make it through all that, or if you guys hang on through all that, by the time we get back to 94, it's going to feel like a completely different place. Jumping over 93, going from 92 to 94 will feel like a completely different thing. And honestly, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we get a lot of Moondogs in 1991, right? Maybe towards the end. But...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like maybe October, November. I think November when they show up, something like that. So it's very minute. So Richard, there's that.
Yeah.
Okay, you can look forward to that, Richard. I don't think there's any Harris brothers. And we've got Jim Cornette managing the Fabulous Ones early in 91. So,
yeah, you know, you said Eric Embry there, and that reminds me of when we were kids. I remember walking outside and seeing Josh walking towards my house. He had jeans and a t-shirt on, but over that he had a singlet that was made for Eric Embry that his grandmother had made. Like it looked like, you always remember those things look like a bathing suit, you know, because he wore like the briefs that come up into a singlet. But yeah, Josh had it on over his jeans and his shirt because he wasn't trying to rock that. You know, we weren't in the best shape as kids, so he wasn't trying to rock the Eric Embry singlet. But I remember he had. I was like, "Where did you get that?" And you're like, "He's like, my grandmother made it for Eric Embry." That's the way he talked. And I was like, "Okay, well, it looks like it."
1991 Eric Embry single. Y'all both could have probably got in that. And had
Definitely.
I don't know. We were pretty big kids.
Embry, there's at one point, Embry was looking a lot like adorable Adrian Adonis at one point in 91. He got kind of big and the hair was kind of rough, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Right now, let's head back to November 6, 1993 for some USWA Championship Wrestling, and I'm happy to hear Corey Macklin is back this week, as it seems Corey's days off always seem to coincide when Richard has days off. Now, I'm not saying Richard plans it that way, but Josh, it feels a bit suspicious, doesn't it?
Yeah, we alluded to that last week when we were talking, and yeah, I'm all but convinced. Like, I'm not shy about my feelings. I believe that Richard's watching forward, and he's like, "Well, I'm not going to have that much fun, so I'm out."
Well, that's his old boss, so I'm sure he's like, if Mr. Macklin's not going to be here, I'm not going to be here. I don't know why he turns into Jerry Briscoe. Corey Macklin, but
that's what I do.
So Dave and Corey run down what we're going to see today. And then, of course, we quickly take a break because that's how we start the show each and every week. And then we come in hot. We kick it off with a big tag team match, guys. Match number 1 of today's show is the Moondogs, Spike and Splat, with Richard Lee taking on the American Eagles, Liberty and Justice. It hit me when I was watching this. Like, I couldn't remember how long have we been calling them Liberty and Justice. Is this something that just started this week, or have they been doing it all along? I hadn't really been paying attention. I haven't noticed it, and I don't have any clue which one's Liberty and which one's Justice.
Well, I know which one it would be hilarious if it was named Justice. Yeah, but I can't answer your question. I don't think that they was calling them that at first. I think it's something they just kind of snuck in, like that USWA heavyweight title. They just kind of, no, this is what we're doing now.
I couldn't get over the fact that those capes they had on. It was like, it looked like your grandmother just said, "What do I have red, white, and blue in the back here?" And she just found like some flag print stuff like that you would find at Walmart. And she's like, "I'll make you a cape out of that."
93 was a rough time.
It was Hancock Fabrics. It wasn't Walmart. But, so, of course, before the Moondogs go to the ring, Richard Lee comes over to cut a promo with Dave Brown. And we get our first hint here that this is another edited non-Memphis version of the show, as Richard Lee says it took Dave Brown long enough to finally get somebody over here to talk to him with some sense. And as far as we know, watching this show, this is the first person Dave Brown has talked to. So clearly we've already had a bunch of stuff edited out, and lucky us, they didn't edit out the Richard Lee promo. We made sure to get that in, but we edited out something that may or may not have been better. But had we missed this promo, we would have missed Richard Lee calling you guys' favorite All-American football wrestling star, Jeff the Weenie Wagon Gaylord. My goodness, what a line from old Richard Lee here. But from there, it's more of the blah, blah, this is the old Moondogs, blah, blah, they're unleashed, blah, blah. I mean, if he's referring to the Moondogs are old at this point, then yeah, he nailed it. 100% accurate. But I'm not impressed, and we talked about this at length last week, Richard. You missed a spot where the Moondogs are in the ring, and they win a match. Brian Christopher and Jeff Jarrett, who, while you were gone, are now babyface tag team champions.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And Richard Lee comes in the ring, challenges Jeff and Brian to come on up in the ring. So they come on up in the ring. The Moondogs powder out and allow Richard Lee to get punched in the face, and they watch from ringside. That's our heel. That's the old Moondogs off the leash. That's the Moondogs off the leash. They're able to get away and run from the baby faces. Jesus Christ. Anyway, the American Eagles come out to the ring, and not only have they added two names, Liberty and Justice, they have now adopted what would eventually become the theme song of Bryan Danielson years later. But of course, it's not a very effective theme song when you're only 2 feet from the curtain when you get to the ring. All right, so clearly it is Uncle Danny once again teaming with Ken Wayne, as we now have taken notice of the guy in the red boots is always Uncle Danny, which, I mean, there's tails, here and there if you get time to watch. But now, just as soon as they step up on the apron, like, red boots, there's Danny.
There's tails.
I didn't love this match, but I didn't hate it either. It's about as good as you're going to hope for a Moondogs TV match at this point. I'm just always puzzled from a kayfabe perspective. How do you justify just suddenly interjecting rules into these Moondog matches when it's time to go to a finish? Because at this point through the whole match, there's been 2 guys fighting on the floor at least, with 2 guys fighting in the ring. There's chairs being used. There's Richard Lee's interfering. And then eventually it just suddenly ends in a count out. Why are we suddenly counting? We haven't gave a shit about rules this entire match, but it's time to take it home. Count them out. I can't wrap my head around that. I know most people are going to say, "Oh, you're overthinking it. Just, don't ask any questions. Just watch it for what it is." But, man, that kind of stuff takes me out of it. I don't know. Is it just me, or do you guys feel that way, or am I just, do I need to just turn my brain off?
No, Moondog matches have always taken me out of it. It's because, we're trying to have semblance of like some kind of wrestling match, and here they are hitting people with boards and shit. It gets old. It just gets old. Like, what do you get, like 37 hits? And as soon as you hit 38, it's like, no, that's it. That's a disqualification. I never understood why these guys had special rules. And why we had to do that. It's like everybody else has to conform to a wrestling match rule set. Why don't these guys?
I feel like there's no rules on Moondog Mountain, so Like they're just, it's like the exception. They're wild. They're out there, and even though they're not going to abide by, not using a bone or a chair, we gotta enforce something, right?
But I mean, that would be like saying, I play in the WNBA, I play in the NBA, I play in the NBA. But
you'd probably be awesome.
But at my house, I don't dribble. I just run with the damn thing, and you guys let me because that's the way I play basketball at home.
Yeah,
could you imagine if they did this in any like real legitimate sport, to where they just gave a special set of rules to two guys because they look like Moondogs?
Well, I'd be like, Richard, you're not a Moondog. You're not a Moondog.
I could even live with that. I could even live with the Moondogs get special treatment and they don't have rules. My problem is when we interject rules arbitrarily for the finish that we need.
Right.
Like you see on like the Monday night card, like we watch on TV, and they've just bashed two jobbers with chairs, and there was no rules enforced. But then their match for Monday night ends in a disqualification.
Yeah.
Like you can't just say there's no rules and let anything goes, and then like, oh, it's time for a commercial. Now it's count out. Now we let those other 47 chair shots go, but now we're going to call for a DQ. That's the shit that bothers me. But it's gone on for a long time at this point. It's not going to change. Another question I have: with all these damn midgets running around Memphis at the time, how did we never get a moon puppy midget moondog? Right? I mean,
a moon cub.
Moondog. Yeah.
Moon puppy sounds like some kind of weird treat that you would have gotten, like go down there and get me an RC Cola and a moon puppy.
Your wife's hobbling. She's like, "Oh, Randy moon pupped me last night, knocked something loose."
Sounds like a member of the Manson family, maybe. But anyway, I think it was a missed opportunity because I'm sure there had to be a scraggly looking midget around that they could throw some, acid wash jeans on. And
that's your mom's like worst nightmare, right?
Oh, yeah.
Little scraggly moon pup.
An unkept midget. She would have really lost her stuff on that.
We ain't letting Midget D work at Midget Moondog. He ain't had his shots.
You ain't put him on a leash. There's a leash law around here.
We just got Midget D some new Jordans. That son of a bitch ain't half of it in the match.
He pisses on his new Jordans. We're going to kill it.
It's got to be the shoes.
Over there sniffing my midget's ass. What's wrong with him?
So, we're going to have some more midget talk from Jamie Dundee a little bit later on in the show. But anyway, eventually Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher come out and make the save for the American Eagles, which makes the Eagles look weak as shit.
Yeah.
we got to get saved by Brian and Jeff, but it is what it is. So next up, Dave Brown is joined by Toni Adams and her real man, Rex Hargrove. And clearly the main bullet point she was given was to establish that Rex Hargrove is a real man, because she only said it 500 freaking times during this exchange. Let's hear a little bit of this promo, if you will, from Miss Toni Adams and her real man, Rex Hargrove.
Well, over the years, been a lot of controversial people around, but one of the most controversial ever in the USWA. Said it this way right here. I'm talking about Toni Adams. Toni on her way here with Rex Hargrove. And as I said, one of the most controversial people ever in the USWA. And what is this, Toni? Is this your man of the day here? I mean, you've had Chris Adams, Brian Christopher, and now I see you hanging around with Rex Hargrove.
Man, look at this. This is a real man. What do you mean, Chris Adams, Brian Christopher? There's nothing. Nothing. Now this is a real man. Look at this. This is gorgeous. Look at his body. Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, a quick exit for you from that match, and therefore you all lost.
Where was Brian Christopher during that time?
I have no idea.
See, he's not a real man. He's nothing but a little punk. This is a real man. This is somebody worth having, worth keeping. Brian is nothing but a little cute. You know why Toni Adams always stays on top? Because she stays with winners. This is the USWA Tag Team champions.
Well, okay, but
And he won it fair and square.
no. You showed a videotape. Let me show you a videotape right here. And remember that he won it fair and square. See for yourself right here.
Toni Adams gets up. Oh, look at that! Toni Adams throws Potter in the eyes of Brian Christopher. Hargrove rolls up Christopher. Oh, my goodness. 1, 2, 3, and 17:59. Toni Adams. Oh, boy, that is horrible. Adams throws Potter in the eyes of Brian Christopher. And we've got new champions indeed. Koko Ware and Rex Hargrove with a big assistance from Toni Adams and 17:59.
Rex and Koko walk out of there with the belts, but everyone could see there is absolutely no way that they would have been able to beat him if it hadn't been for you throwing that powder in Brian's eye.
Oh, Bull, he got what he deserved. He deserves everything. That's what you get for the messing with me. You know what they say about a woman scorned. Well, just start to believe it, Brian Christopher, you little punk.
Oh boy,
You little punk.
So Dave dunks on her right out of the gate where he's like, oh, so this is your man of the week here? He starts naming off all the men she's been with, at least on camera anyway. And the fans over chanting tramp. So, yeah, she really drives it home that he's a real man and Brian's not a real man. And we see that him and Koko B are the new tag team champions because last week's scheduled match with Shawn Michaels and Koko B against Brian and Jeff, Shawn Michaels ended up being injured and not able to be there, so they sub in this brand new guy and like his third match of his current run in the USWA, and they win the tag team titles. And eventually, Brian Christopher makes his way out to the desk. That clip was long enough, so I didn't include this. But Brian makes his way out. Brian then tells Toni she's been dumped more times than I couldn't understand if he said Dixie Dumpster or Dipsy Dumpster, but it got the point across. And he runs down her recent history of men, or at least storyline men that we've seen on television anyway. And then he says she's had more hands on her than a doorknob. He goes on to double down and refer to as a slutty tramp, as her real man Rex Hargrove just watches on without saying or doing anything up to this point. So eventually, Toni has to take it upon herself to take off her glove and slap Brian. Brian laughs and says, is that as hard as you could hit? So she comes in hot on the second one, knocks Brian backwards a step. But of course, we've established Brian don't give a damn about snatching a bitch by the hair. So finally, the real man ties up with Brian, and they roll around on the floor fighting like a couple of women. And I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't know if it's just too much orange rolling around on the floor or just force of habit because you've been managing Brian for months. But at one point, Toni actually kicks Rex Hargrove in the back and realizes her mistake.
Oh, that was hilarious. I think it was just because it was such rapid motion. She was just, or maybe the somas kicked in and she forgot. Like, it could have been either.
It was involuntary.
We talked about this last night through text chat that at WrestleMania, all the opponents were dressing the same.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first time we've seen Brian wear orange on television all year long, and he does it when Mr. Tennessee Volunteers out here in his orange. So they look like they're getting ready to debut as a new tag team, not as opponents against each other. But
I can see him in the back. So Toni, right? He's talking to Tony Williams. It's fixing to be fall. I'm gonna go out there looking all fall, right? With the yellow and orange. It'll be great.
Actually, it's fixing to be winter.
Well, no,
we're in November.
November is fall.
Yeah, it's not fixing to be fall.
You know what he means.
Yeah.
The leaves ain't even all the way orange yet at this point.
Thanksgiving, motherfucker. Leave it alone.
So Brian has to come out and, Jeff has to come out rather and save his new tag team partner, Brian. And they double team the real man. And then we go to a commercial break, and just to make sure that we make sure everybody sees the potential domestic violence, we show a replay of Brian snatching her by the hair because we're pretty proud of that.
And he actually has his fist reared back, everything.
Since we didn't see that in the clip, let's take our first podcast commercial break right now. and see exactly what we're referring to here with Brian going after Toni Adams. So we'll be right back.
USWA.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puroresu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Jackson, Tennessee, get ready for a night of non-stop laughs at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill. On May 10th at 7 p.m., we're bringing some of the best comedians in the area to the stage. Tickets are $10 at the door, but why pay more? Grab yours in advance for just $7 at codyscomedy.eventbrite.com. Great food, cold drinks, top-tier comedy. What more could you ask for? This event is 18 and over, so make sure you bring your ID and your best sense of humor. Comedy at Cody's Sports Bar and Grill, May 10th, 7 p.m. in Jackson, Tennessee. Be there.
Wow. I mean, all Brian needs is a wife beater T-shirt on here. He would have turned babyface months ago. Huh? That's how you do a bitch right there, Brian. Snatch your balls.
The next commercial break is going to be like him holding a beer with a cigarette out of his mouth.
I told you. Get smart again. So now we're ready for match number 2. The real man, Rex Hargrove, with Toni Adams, taking on Tony Williams. And now Brian and Tony Williams have squared off multiple times this year. They've not gotten along, but now, for the sake of this, we're going to establish that Tony Williams is associated with Brian Christopher, and they're old pals. They're going to talk about how they used to be tag team partners. But going into this match, I did some research on Rex Hargrove, and there's not a lot to tell as far as wrestling goes. He was number 71 at the University of Tennessee. He was on the 1990 SEC Championship team. As he mentioned last week, he was an All-American who had a decent football career, but he didn't quite live up to all the hoopla that people had created for him. So he was able to take that reputation, that little bit of name value he got in football, and kind of come into wrestling with somewhat of a name coming through the door. From what I can find, he was only in the business from May 1992 up until he was out of it by the end of November 1993, the month we're currently in. So he's not here for a long time. I don't even know if he had a good time because he got the hell out pretty quick. I actually want to do some asking around and see if anybody knows what the story is, if anybody knows why he didn't stick around wrestling any longer than he did. So I'll do some research on that and see what I can find out. But he only had a handful of matches. He did a couple of matches in Smoky Mountain, from what I can find. I don't even think they were on TV. I think they were just at the spot shows. But this match here, Hargrove isn't great, but sadly, he's only had a handful of matches. He's been in the business less than a year, and he's still better than Jeff Gaylord, who had been wrestling for 9 years at this point. So there's that. He's got that going for him anyway. And he gets a win over Tony Williams with a power slam. And then after the match, this happens. Let's, producer Smokey, where's the clip? Oh, here we go.
Oh, no, we don't need that
Tony.
stuff now, Tony.
He's not associated with Brian Christopher anymore either. But as a Hargrove now holding him up, Toni Adams climbing the ring apron. Frank Morrell is saying, hey, come on, break this up. You've won the match. Now get out of here. Hargrove takes him over. Oh, boy. Toni Adams slapping Tony Williams.
Hey, come on, Tony.
Only only thing Tony did wrong is he used to be a partner with Brian Christopher.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
And he's wrestling against. Hey, here comes some help. Look at this. It's Brian Christopher coming in to help out. He immediately goes for Toni Adams. Grabs her by the hair. Rex Hargrove grabs her.
Hargrove's got her by legs over there. Christopher's got a hair. They're going to stretch Toni Adams here in a minute. Hargrove finally gets the best of it and takes her out of here.
She looked at her hand like, it's getting sore.
That had to be a rib, right? Like, it felt like it was. Like they let her slap him like 10 times. So it's a rib on Tony. He's getting slapped like 12 times. She's blowing up and her hand's getting tired. And she just keeps hitting and hitting. And finally they come out. But there you have Corey Macklin with the line of the week as 3 guys have a tug of war over Toni Adams while 2 of them are pulling her by the hair. Corey Macklin actually says, they're going to stretch the Toni Adams there in a minute. This is the scene as he delivers that line. They're going to stretch Toni Adams here in a minute. Wow. Wow. Okay. So,
good stuff, though.
Talk about weenie wagon.
That should be her name there. The old...
God,
Miss Weenie Wagon.
I laugh so much because like the size difference in Rex and Tony was like visually whenever he's holding him like that, and it, you know, like the number of slaps, it got uncomfortable. It's like, wow, it keeps going, but like after 4. Hargrove like leads Tony away from Toni Adams just a little bit, and then like oh shit, they're not here yet, so he leads him like a puppet back over there to get a few more.
You see Tony's face the whole time he's getting hit. He's like, "Come on!"
I feel like Brian was back here looking at the monitor with like his hand on Jeff's chest, going, "Not yet, not yet,
100%,
not yet." All right, now.
We gotta let him get 42 slaps in.
Oh my god, yeah, that was fun. Not for Tony Williams, obviously, but for us to watch. I got to mention this here because I don't know how many more times we're going to see this guy, but I'm telling you, Rex Hargrove looks like the love child of Power Pros Lance Jade and Jeff Gaylord. Like if they had a test tube baby, it would be Rex Hargrove, the All-American. But anyway,
couldn't put my finger on who he reminded me of the whole time I was watching it, you know. But God, was his clothesline shit. It's like if you would add his clotheslines with Jeff's DDT, I'm pretty sure you would have some unwatchable wrestling.
So last Monday night at the Coliseum was 1-on-1 Rex Hargrove versus Jeff Gaylord, and like part of me is glad there's no footage of that exists. Part of me kind of wishes there was because I feel like that would have been a fun watch along for us. It'd be like, you know, the 1993 version of Heroes of Wrestling or something. But so after we take a break, we take a look at the hair versus mask match between Little Eagle and Midget D from last week. And we talked about last week, Richard, how this is another one of those times where it feels like the USWA booking is just kind of rushed. Or, I mean, you've established for a couple of weeks these guys are at odds, obviously. But the very first match between the two is a mask versus hair match. Like, we didn't like have a match that, you know, didn't have a conclusion or something. We just go straight to mask versus hair. But if you're watching on YouTube, we need to take a look at the sight of Midget D getting his head shaved. And you can really tell after it gets shaved, he's got a big brain, it looks like. I don't know. Let's just take a look.
Long shoulder for Midget D. Jumps over a Little Eagle. Comes back. Oh! Look at Eagle. Nice move to take down Midget D. He's got him covered. And American Eagle. J.C. Ice fighting it out. Here comes Whoopie D. Whoopie D in the ring. Picks up the Little Eagle and slams him down hard. Oh, boy, by God. Comes in, snatches up Little Eagle, slams him down. Midget D up on the top rope. The American Eagle pushes him down. Hey, Little Eagle got him covered over here. Frank Morrell turns around. 2. He got him. So the Coliseum to get a ball of the hair, Midget D. What did he get?
It's kind of a shame. I mean, Midget D had a pretty sweet mohawk going on there.
Corey was like, "We'll have to get that hair out of the ring. You know, a midget hair is magical. You don't want to just leave that in the ring."
It was so weird how he made it. We had to get the Chloe. We had to get the flunkies to get all that midget hair out of the ring.
Moondogs are allergic to midget hair. You know what's funny is they showed a clip of the crowd who looked like they could give two shits less than they just showed them, and they're like,
built this up. I mean, they chased each other around in the circle on TV once or twice, as Josh talked about, and that's the extent of the build up to this. And you know, as him getting pushed off the top rope by the American Eagle is the equivalent of Jeff Hardy falling off a 30-foot ladder in the Attitude Era. You know, like God help him. That was
what's
a hell of a bump.
The crowd just looked like they felt bad for the little guy. It's like, he's already small. Why was shaving his head?
You know, push him off the top rope and shave his head. This is like abuse. Is there not like a little people's, you know, like you get the ASPCA or whatever for, you know, not that I'm comparing them to animals. I'm just saying they should have somebody watching their back.
Oh, you know them little legs can't withstand that impact.
Sarah McLachlan. Hi, I'm here for the Association of Little People. Every year, little people are abused, beaten, and heads shaved and thrown off of large things.
No. It'd have to be like that equivalent to that. It'd be like Danny DeVito, who's like famous, and he is a tiny person, so he'd be like the perfect advocate.
Yeah. Hey, cut this shit out.
Why are you beating up on all the little people?
Does Danny DeVito have a song? Could you imagine Danny DeVito's "In the Arms of the Angel"?
Yeah, have him singing Sarah McLachlan.
Little guy.
So as you can imagine, PG-13 are none too happy about having their midget shaved. And I don't want to wear everybody out on clips here, but we absolutely have to listen to what JC Ice had to say and the references he makes to the Little Eagle here. This is the most Jamie Dundee thing ever. Check it out.
Anthony, they don't look too happy as they head this way.
Hey, we're not in a very good mood today, and I'm going to tell you why. Look at him. It's sick if these people think that this is funny, because this is not funny. This has done nothing but make the PGs real hot. You know, Corey, Dave, I heard you laughing when you was plugging the card. I heard you laughing about the little man's hair. Our main man, Midget D, ain't got no hair. Not because of you, Little Eagle. Because of the Big Eagle is why my man ain't got no hair. So you see, this week we got Midget D against Little Eagle. The mask of that little deformed dwarf, Dave Brown, and that's what he is. He's a deformed dwarf, and underneath that mask is the head of the Elephant Man. That's why he wears a mask, because he's got the head of an Elephant Man. And you want to say you want to put his mask against Midget D wearing a diaper?
That's the stipulation.
No, let me tell you something. Let me tell you people something, and let me tell all of y'all something. It'll be a cold day and you know where before Midget D puts a diaper on in front of anybody. Dave Brown, if you don't shut him up, we're going to beat this whole building up. See, Dave Brown, this is the whole problem. Matter of fact, just give me that. Just give me the microphone. This is the most humiliating thing that has ever happened to PG-13. And let me tell you something. You do not humiliate PG-13, especially our manager. So what I did, Dave Brown, was we went to Eddie Marlin, and we was trying to think of the best way for PG-13 to get rid of the American Eagles. The thorns in our side with that little splinter. So we asked him, let us have a stretcher match, Dave Brown, a stretcher match. And this week, the stretcher match is happening, and PG-13 is going to put the American Eagles out for good. They're hauling them out. Call the ambulances, call everybody you can. Because you see, in the hood, we carry punks out every day on stretchers. So American Eagles, the good part about this is we get paid to carry you out on the stretcher. And the reason we know we're going to do it is because of these. The new shoes It's gotta be the shoes. Get ready, Eagles, because you're leaving on a stretcher.
Well,
Deformed Dwarf with the head of the Elephant Man under that mask. That wasn't a voicemail left for our show by some character. That's Jamie Dundee on television saying that out there in front of God and everybody. Oh, my goodness.
You know what's weird? If you shave a Midget D, it does look a little bit bigger, doesn't it?
It's certainly, it was weird enough last week seeing him with the pacifier in his mouth, but now with his head shaved and the pacifier in his mouth, it gave that a whole nother dimension. Somebody was probably trading pictures of him somewhere, but anyway.
That motherfucker looked like he could move shit with his brain, didn't he? That was a big noggin. It's like he had grown up. You know, the old cell phones used to give you like brain tumors and stuff. That was like the thing. It's like this man was born under a cell tower.
They should have did the next finish of the match would have been him touching the sides of his temples, and all of a sudden the American Eagles just fall out and get pinned. Can't disqualify him if he doesn't actually touch anybody.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jamie's over there having to spray him with a water bottle. Quit it! Quit it!
Eddie Marvel comes, I am tired of this telekinesis bullshit. Now, I am the star.
He touches his temples, and Eddie Marlin's shirt rips itself like it did 2 weeks ago. I'll my shirt. I'm a star in the USWA, you little midget son of a bitch. Hey, don't you talk about our midget. All right, that's good. Save that for Patreon. Anyway, I tell you what, we're going to do for fun. Since PG-13 are pretty fired up, I thought it might be fun if we go ahead and watch this next match and call it. Let's take a look at PG-13 taking on
about the stipulations on the matches
Mike Anthony
They're
and
angry.
Jeff
They're very
Gaylord.
confident that they're going to get victories. It remains to be seen in the ring.
So I figure they're trying to take the crowd completely away from PG-13 because did you notice that shitty ass music?
Yes.
It was just like, okay, the crowd is still liking the music, cheering them on when they come out. What's something just completely repulsive? And why don't you just hit that little chicken a couple times?
As
Like,
you can see, Josh's grandmother hadn't perfected making the perfect length for the midget shirt.
she didn't make any stuff. Oh, for that one, yeah, 100% did.
I mean, look
You
at
can
his
see-
head, though. Jamie had a point.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think of what it looked like, but I couldn't come up with anything. But yeah, like I always laugh when I see the American Eagle midget. What's his name?
Little Eagle.
Little Eagle.
In there.
He's got like a half shirt on.
Well, it's
like he moonlights at the weenie wagon dancing.
it's almost like they're just like didn't have his height measurement. It's just he's little.
Yeah, just make it a 3T and it'll be all right.
So somebody sent me a clip yesterday, and if you'd have asked me, so 2 days ago, if you asked me, hey, you think Mike Anthony ever wrestled Goldberg? I'd be like, no, of course not. Somebody sent me a clip of a match with Bill Goldberg wrestling Mike Anthony on some WCWC show. I may have to throw it up on our Facebook or something. But,
I would have figured he would have been long. I mean, how long did he work after this?
a few years.
Well, he probably worked at a video store and lumber yard and whatnot.
I know he went to Puerto Rico quite a bit and did some stuff in Japan, and I think he was part of PG-13's adventures down at Puerto Rico the time Wolfie and Hersey got literally murdered. Who were with him? Look at Jeff Gaylord's get up this week. He's got the green on this week.
I couldn't imagine having that many tassels. Feels like that would be a distraction.
Yeah, I mean, even the Ultimate Warrior's like, Jesus, dude, I think you got enough tassels. He's trying to create extra movement to take away from all the botched moves. You just see a bunch of tassels flying around. You don't focus on anything in particular.
Right. It's like, you like wrestling? Yeah. Would you like to do if we attach colorful mops to you?
Oh,
no.
That's a pretty good spot right there. Why are you wearing all those tassels, Jeff? Now I look like I don't have enough tassels. I'm doing my best out here, Jeff.
Mr. Gaylord.
Mr. Gaylord. I told you not to call me that. Sorry, Mr. Jeff.
That's my father's name's Mr. Gaylord. I'm
My
Jeff.
daddy's Mr. Gaylord, and so was my other daddy.
That's right. You know, you think about it. Those last names, they come from somewhere. You know, like Smith was blacksmiths, and you know, what's some of them Taylors were Taylors. Unfortunately, Ken Raper's family had a dark past. But what was Gaylords?
Well, I think we know.
They lived on the same block as the Rapers. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah, they had a feud one time, and it got pretty ugly when the Gaylords and the Rapers got into it. It was a mess to clean up, I'll tell you that much.
Sticky as pine tar.
Man, that is
clearly talking to Mike Anthony there. That was a whole last conversation.
That's a tall mullet he's got there.
They got to quit zooming that camera in because you just see David plain as day. And then after we leave here, I got a bag of weed in the car. And then if you go by there and get them pills from old boy down there on South Street, we'll go head up to Nashville. I can't go back over there. I still owe him money.
Frank Morrell. We used to kid about him when we were kids, about how slow that count was.
Oh, I know. Like, I mean, as a kid, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that stuff, but you couldn't ignore, like, how slow Frank Morrell and, like, Bronco Lubitsch in World Class was. It's like, those two had a count off. I mean, it'd be a 10 count before they could get to 3.
Yeah, but at least Frank still got down and counted. He wasn't counting with his fucking foot standing up like Bronco was.
And sometimes it would take 3 or 4 seconds for Frank to get down.
Yeah. It's better be the finish because I had to get down here for nothing. I feel like you probably said that before, like, no covers until the finish. I ain't getting up and down.
Frank would have been done last night.
They probably ribbed him and just went like we're going to go for a cover after everything we do. And Morrell's like, you sons of bitches.
Oh, man.
So I wonder now, I was expecting Corey to be like, little ball Midget D out there.
What made it worse, though, about Frank Morrell was, like, if you go back and watch old WWF now, how fast their counts were. 1, 2, oh, he kicked it. 1, 2. And then you put that in perspective with Frank Morrell. It's like you can watch your tomatoes grow by the time he got from 1 to 2.
I just find it funny that Frank Morrell used to, sometimes in Memphis he'd wrestle without the mask, and then other times he'd have a mask on. It's so freaking obvious. Like, the minute he comes out through the curtain, you're like, well, there's Frank Morrell, whatever they're calling him, the angel or the spoiler or whatever. Like, clearly that's Frank Morrell. I can't believe how much time the Eagles spent on the microphone. I mean, it was super obvious who they were and when they started talking. Both of them.
In fact, I'd sent y'all a message saying, poor Tony Williams had to wrestle twice this week because I just assumed one of the American Eagles was him. And then they started talking. I'm like, well, no, I guess both of them were there. I guess that was them.
Oh, what a maneuver.
Oh, man.
Here comes the hot tag. No.
This is where I started feeling bad because I'm like, come on, get the tag. Let's go home.
He's like, nope, we're not ready for Jeff Gaylord yet.
Nobody is.
We're not going to be when it's time either. But
yeah, the American Eagles over there talking like it's a telethon.
Oh my god!
Mike Anthony kind of halfway putting his hand in front of his mouth. Let me tag Jeff in. No. Please, Mr. Wolfie. No. Boy, don't you know he hated tagging with Gaylord? Everybody's like, all right, we'll take the heat on Anthony tonight. But he took it on me last night. We're doing it again. Shut up.
Oh, me.
Oh,
One. Stupid Jeff Gaylord got confused out there.
At this point, they still haven't been tagging that long. But, the the tag work of PG-13 came along pretty quick. Like these guys, you think they've been tagging for years at this point, and it's only been a few months now.
And some of those months they were let go.
Yeah, they were off wrestling on shit shows somewhere. BFE.
I love how you have Wolfie D and Midget D, but you have JC Ice. Feels like they should have combined the names of both of them to make the midget, like Midget ICD or something. Feel like that gives more credence to Wolfie as the kind of the male in the relationship.
It made it feel like it was Wolfie's midget, although clearly Jamie was one that always claimed it was his midget. So surprised they didn't have a custody battle when they split the team up that time.
It's my step midget, but I raise him like he's mine.
Always treat him like he's my own very own.
Well, if you like Wolfie so much, why don't you go fucking live with him then? He ain't the one giving you a can of Alpo every night, is he?
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh.
Well, I got out of hand quickly there.
3. Hey, at least he can do a roll-up instead of like Hargrove. That shitty roll-up Hargrove did earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody was upset when Hargrove disappeared, right?
No. I in fact, because I've been gone for the past 2 weeks, I didn't realize how long he had been on or anything like that. And I sent you a message as soon as I saw him work, and I'm like, I think my exact quote is, "Boy, Rex Hargrove shit, isn't he?"
Yep.
I felt like that would have been a guy that Vince would have wanted to get his claws in and like kind of secure for the future. He seemed like he had a good foundation, a good look, and if he was, mentored and all that correctly, it seemed like you could have done something with him.
Yeah, once I went and looked it up and saw how few matches he had, it kind of changed my perspective of what I thought of this match with Tony Williams today. I'm like, all right, well, in that amount of time, he's really not that bad. Because again, you look at Jeff Gaylord, who had wrestled for 9 freaking years, and Hargrove was head and shoulders above him at least, But that's why I kind of wish I could find somebody with some insight, because it had to be a matter of Hargrove just decided, no, this shit ain't for me. I figure it's probably a combination of the payoffs in USWA, and he's like, no, I'm not starving to death to kill my body doing this shit and wrestle guys like, Jeff Gaylord. That's his first feud. This guy's brand new, and you put him in there by himself. But again, with two guys, like, who's leading that match? You put them in a singles match. I would love I wish there were footage of that match. I'd love to see it, because it had to be just an absolute clusterfuck.
It's like, who won the match? I can tell you who lost. It was everybody that watched it.
What do you think Meemaw would say seeing a match between Jeff Gaylord and Rex Hargrove?
Good Lord, it looks like there's 2 of them in there. They must have some kind of special outreach program.
So then we go to our main event. It's an expiration of time match. Brian Christopher and the fabulous one, Jeff Jarrett, versus Reggie B. Fine and Doomsday. And, this was a fun little tag match, but, if you're seeing it on a spot show, but we can't keep having Reggie B coming out here doing the same stuff every week. You know what I mean? Like we talked about, I know you're not a big fan of him. Richard and Brian Trammell said he wasn't a big fan of it. Me and Josh,
I like
how
Reggie.
much we thoroughly enjoy Reggie's shtick. Maybe I'm just thinking of Brian saying,
yeah.
Reggie, but when you start seeing it every week, it's like, all right, man, we've seen this. Let's not go to that well every week. But clearly, like we said, Jarrett must love working him, because almost every time Reggie B steps in the ring on TV, he's working with Jarrett or Lawler or both. So pretty good match here. I really liked the finish was pretty creative, where it looked like Doomsday was going to take his first loss, but nope. Psych. Reggie B gets rolled up, and then gets a win over Reggie. And I don't know. I thought it was fun for what it was, but like I said, I just don't think we need to expose Reggie too much week after week after week. But maybe that's just me.
It's a strange pairing to it. It's like the Ender of Worlds, Doomsday, and Reggie B. Fine.
It really showcases, though, like just how huge Reggie was at this time period, man. Like he stands next to Doomsday, who looks super jacked, and then you're like, I had forgotten that Reggie was so jacked during this time period. Like when, like I said, he stands right next to Doomsday. It's like, damn, he's almost as big as Kane at this point, man. It's crazy. And he was nowhere near this big when he was managing Awesome Kong and all that. I mean, he looked slender comparable to what he is right now.
And this is actually kind of a good pairing because you got the silliness of Reggie B, which makes Doomsday look like that much more of a badass. When he tags in, you know, you kind of have the yin and yang of the team. You let him come in and dominate, then Reggie come in and, you know, get thrown around and do all his, you know, shtick, and then Doomsday comes back in and looks like a monster. I just hate the gear that they've got on Doomsday. It's so generic.
Right.
I had this like extended thought watching this match. I kind of got tied up in it, opposed to just paying attention to every single move. I just got into this Reggie appreciation mode of like a guy so big physically, and you know, and he wrestles like he does, and he does the spots and stuff like he does. He's not afraid at all to look like a complete idiot. You know, I'll take the pin. You can play a joke on me. I'll be the butt of every single joke. You know, he's not afraid to be a chicken shit or act naive or whatever. And then it makes me think of guys like, you know, just a few years ago that you see in the dirt sheets for like main eventers for companies right now. I'm not going to do that. You know how that's going to make me look? And then you think of somebody like Reggie, like, man, I'll do whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Reggie totally gets it. You can tell he knows what his role is, and he plays it to perfection week in and week out. So for a couple of weeks now, we're not seeing it on the version of the show that we're getting. But over on the Memphis Live version of TV, Downtown Bruno's been coming out. And like last week, we read about how he brought in a tag team called Leatherface and the Deadhead to take on the Moondogs, which Leatherface was Mike Samples and the Deadhead was Ken Raper.
So you remember I told you I was going to try to find that tape and revisit it and all that?
Yes.
I did that Monday, and I chronicled like the runtime, if it had commercials or it didn't or whatever. And I went and looked at that specific moment, and it was literally just shoehorned in there. Like something happened, and then all of a sudden Bruno walks out, and he's like, I got this tag team, da-da-da. And they just walk out, and Mike Samples is Leatherface. He doesn't have the chainsaw running. He's just doing like this. And Ken Raper's like walking like this with gloves and shit on. And it's like, all in all, it took about a minute 45, 2 minutes. It was really weird. It was just like, oh shit, we forgot this segment. Bruno. And
I can't get my chainsaw started. I can't get it started. It's cold.
Just go out there and wave it. It don't matter.
Just wave it over your head like an idiot, like he did at the end of the movie. So we have a similar segment this week. So this was from the Wrestling Observer. Downtown Bruno, a.k.a. Harvey Whippleman, who is a babyface here, did an interview saying he's bringing in the world's most dangerous tag team to face the Moondogs. He said that he put all the names of everyone he's ever managed in the past into a computer, and the computer would spit out the best possible tag team of those wrestlers that he has managed over the past 10 years.
What program was he using?
You want to guess what two names the computer paired up together as the most dangerous tag team that Downtown Bruno could possibly manage against the Moondogs?
So I would say, just by what I know, I would say maybe like Sid Vicious. And then, I mean, just sheer size and like threat. I know he just left, but Giant Gonzalez.
Yes, that would be my thoughts.
Okay, you're off by just a little bit. The computer told him the most dangerous tag team that he could bring of all the people he's ever managed would be Outlaw Don Bass and Doug Gilbert. The two of them came out for an interview with Don Bass choking Gilbert with a bull rope and Gilbert hitting Bass over the head with a garbage can. Gilbert said the Moondogs would be better off walking through hell with gasoline on their bodies than trying to wrestle them. Meltzer added, this must be from Doug doing all those wing matches that gave him ideas for interviews like this. So we're not the Rock and Roll Phantom anymore. For the first time in 1993, it's actually Don Bass teaming with Doug as the potentially most dangerous tag. So as you guys mentioned, if you're running through your head of all the people you're aware that Downtown Bruno has managed in the previous 10 years, Sid, Johnny Gonzalez, Big Bubba, a.k.a. Tugboat Typhoon, on and on and on. Goliath, who is now Moondog Splat, who he's ironically going to be wrestling against. The computer, this is 1993. Computers weren't what they are now, apparently. I guess this was a pretty generic program. It came up with Don Bass and our friend Doug Gilbert. I'll have to ask Doug about this when I get a chance and see if he has any memories of this at all, of his partner Don Bass choking him with a bull rope on his way out to cut a promo on the Moondogs.
So the kings of rock and roll. You're telling me we got the Rock and Roll Phantom and the King of Rock and Roll in a tag team, but it's not mentioned.
Yeah, that should have been the gimmick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, either call them the Kings of Rock and Roll, put a mask on Doug, and they could have been the Rock and Roll Phantoms, plural. So, missed opportunity. So, this week we actually have the card. Meltzer had put the card in the write-up, so I'm gonna go over the card for this Monday night. Then we're going to take our last commercial break, and then we'll ask you the question. So the card for Monday night, based off what we saw and apparently what we didn't see, Reggie B. Fine taking on Mike Anthony. Boss Paul taking on Jeff Gaylord in a one-on-one match. Talk about a banger, as the kids say. Del Rios versus Doomsday in what Dave called the Battle of the Knights, as they had been both scheduled to be knights on the Survivor Series team. Sweet Georgia Brown versus Vicious Vicky. Jeff Gaylord, Mike Anthony, and Del Rios versus Reggie B. Fine, Doomsday, and Boss Paul. In a mask versus wearing a diaper match, Little Eagle versus Midget D. In the stretcher match, PG-13 versus the American Eagles. In a chain match, which we watched on a recent watch-along, Toni Adams versus Miss Texas. In a grudge tag team match, the Moondogs versus Doug Gilbert and Don Bass. In the main event for the USWA Tag Team titles, Koko B. Ware and the real man, I'm just adding that myself, Rex Hargrove with Toni Adams defending against Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher. So I'll give you a minute to mull that over while we take our final commercial break, and then we'll come back and see what you guys think about whether you want to go see this or not. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, if you know what's good for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
All right, we appreciate all our fine sponsors of the Retro Wrestling Review Podcast. It's time, guys, to ask you those questions. So, of course, we lead with, what was your least favorite part of today's show?
It's the Moondogs. It's always the Moondogs. It's almost the fast forward button. Yeah, no, I can't take it. I cannot stand the Moondogs. I've never been a fan, ever. Like, I remember when I was in 6th grade, one of my friends was like, "Hey, my brother's starting to wrestle." It's like, "Well, who's training?" "Well, he's going to the Moondogs." Like, "Well, he ain't gonna learn shit." He ain't gonna learn shit. What, are they gonna teach him how to do a bump? No, they're gonna hit him with a trash can, take $250 from him that week, and then that's it.
Tell him whatever he's paying him, give me half, and I'll just hit him with a chair for an afternoon, and then sell him some shitty boots.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much it. Like, I'm ready for 91 now that you were talking about Moondogs aren't going to be there. I'm happy about that, but yeah, I'm done with them.
I thought that would fire you up, Josh.
Yeah. So mine is it's Toni Adams and Rex Hargrove and that big elongated, like it felt like remember that big long Gone with the Wind type Macho Man promo, how long that felt. Well, they got at least 8 minutes of TV time, considering clips that they were like, all right, now show this. They went to 2 different clip segments while they were still standing out there. And it felt so long. I like started daydreaming during the last section of clips. And I had forgotten that they were standing out there. And then when they cut from the second set of clips and I seen them still out there, I was like, holy shit, there they are still. This is long. Yeah. I didn't appreciate kind of how I thought Rex was doing a good job insulting Jeff Gaylord last week and really seemed like he was going for the throat. And I was like, all right, awesome. This guy is a real prick. Great. And now they put him with Toni Adams and he doesn't say a fucking word. Nothing. I feel like we're kind of pulling back on him.
Yeah. We've heard a lot from Toni Adams the last couple of weeks, and I would definitely say she's better seen than heard, most likely. But anyway, I agree with both those sentiments. I didn't enjoy the Moondogs, and there was way too much of this. And I don't usually make clips that long, but I wanted people who haven't seen the show or don't actually go back and watch the shows. They only listen or watch the podcast. I wanted them to experience a little bit of just how freaking much Toni Adams and Rex Hargrove we got in that segment. And that, like you said, and that wasn't even near half of it. So glad we got that point across. What was your most favorite part of this week's show?
No, I kind of like the midget stuff. Like, I don't know. I have a soft spot for a midget. I think it's generational. You are what your parents hate. Pretty much. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that, watching Midget D get pushed off the ropes. I thought the same thing that you did. Like, they should have gave that poor little guy a parachute. Like it was so sad watching him fall. but yeah, like it was great. It's good entertainment. Anytime you can throw a midget in there, it's great entertainment. That I think that is the key to anything. If I could find one for May 10th at that comedy show we're doing, Gene, if I could find one to just run through like in a G-string going seaplane, can you imagine that? That'd be great.
If you book Jamie, he can bring. I'm sure he's got one right now. I mean, it's obviously not the same one, but I'm sure he tries to keep one when he can. So.
He's running a midget meal down there.
You said you have a soft spot for him. Do you think those big heads have a soft spot?
Not at all. Those things are
the opposite.
Yeah, like that scene in Terminator where the press is crushing Terminator's head. That press would overheat and explode trying to crush a midget head, man. More dense than a diamond. Hardest substance on earth is a midget head.
I'll put a disclaimer on this episode. Josh, let's get out of this. What's your most favorite part of the show?
Oh, no. Even though Toni Adams is a part of my hate for the show, she's kind of a part of the best of, because once again, Brian Christopher, he comes out and he is just relentless on the mic. Even though he is a babyface, he called her a slut, essentially, because he said she had slutty behavior and more hands on her than a doorknob and this and this and this. He was just going off, and the gloves were off, and I was there for it. And watching that clip back where she slaps him again and he's like, "Oh, you fucking bitch," and he rears back. I have watched that so much in the last 24 hours and laughed and laughed and laughed. I find it like, it is just crazy that like he had that behavior and he was still a babyface. Like I try to wrap my head around it, and I guess it was just the way the times were. Like, she shouldn't have hit him, you know.
It, to me, what makes that is it feels so genuine, because like she slaps him and he really does laugh at her and says, "Is that the best you got?" I think that's his real reaction. And I think she really hauled off and slapped him with everything she had in her. And that when you see his reaction when he takes a step back, you see it comes across his face, like you just said, like, "Bitch." And he generally goes and grabs her by the hair. Like, I don't think that was like, "All right, then you slap me one time, then you slap me again, then I'm gonna try to that's not what that was. That was that's the best you got." And she's like, "All right, motherfucker." And then she slaps the shit out of him, and then he's like, "Oh, you bitch." I think Hargrove had to grab him at that point, or it would have gotten way out of hand. That's just my impression of it.
Well, think about it. She sparred with the best, like, that England had to offer for like 3 years, right? Like, he's an Olympic level judo guy.
I mean, this chick has squared off with both Chris Adams and Miss Texas. She ain't scared of Brian or anybody else at this point. She can take a hit. If nothing else, in her home life and in wrestling, Toni Adams can take a hit. We've established that. So,
whether it be a physical hit or a hit of something.
I was going to say on the face or off a mirror. It don't matter.
Hey, people make a lot of comments about peels, but it's like, hey, you get knocked around, 24/7. You're gonna need something. But anyway, so yeah, one interesting. I ain't gonna say it's my favorite part of the show, but one interesting aspect. I don't know if you've really paid attention to this, Josh. I know Richard was away for a couple weeks, but we've had at least 2 whole shows here where there's not a hint of Jerry Lawler on the show at all, and we've done okay. We had nobody's there. We still got people in the studio. People are still showing up, and we've actually had some pretty decent crowds the last couple of weeks. So I don't know what that says about things, but I think it's interesting, and I think maybe it shows that the Brian Christopher babyface experiment is at least going smooth so far. But since we did hear the card and we saw some of it set up, and then we heard about the part we didn't see, would you guys want to buy a ticket for this week's show based on the card that you know is coming?
Absolutely not. like absolutely not. Like 1993, I was hard up for money, and I ain't giving 1 red cent to this company for that card that you announced earlier. Even if it does have 2 midgets on it, I am staying home. It's a school night.
You're going to see a midget either a midget in a diaper, or you're going to see the Elephant Man unmasked. I mean, how do you not pay to see that, Richard?
It's a school night. I've got stuff to do. I've got to prepare for Thanksgiving. There's all kinds of stuff I've got to get done. I cannot be there. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pass on this one. I'll follow next week to see what happened, and if we see a midget in a diaper, I'm sure I'll see it on Saturday.
Well, he's already got the pacifier, so
yeah.
What do you think?
I would love to, but I think I've been spoiled on. Macho Man's been here 3 times. Mr. Perfect's been here a couple of times now. We've seen a bunch of different like major talents, and then now, like you said, there's no Lawler, which the void is being filled or trying to be, but it's still a little of the mystique isn't there. And then we don't even have Bill Dundee. And as far as I know, there's no big WWF guy for this card. So it's kind of like, it was really big, over the top. Even in Oxford, Mississippi, we're going to go over the top, but it's the feeling's not quite as thick as it was, So I guess no.
I like that you was diplomatic, like I was actually offering to take you back in time in a time machine. You go, I'd like to, but man, I got stuff going on. I was thinking past you. Before we get to Monday night's card, I've got the card that happened that night in Nashville. So we left Memphis to studio. We took off to Nashville, and this is the card they got. And the only reason I'm kind of pointing this out is because we talked about last week how it felt weird that we spent a lot of time establishing an issue between the Moondogs against Jarrett and Christopher, and then we read the card and it's the Moondogs against the Deadhead and Leatherface, and then Christopher and Jarrett against what ended up being Hargrove and Koko B. Ware. But this is what they promoted for Nashville. Bearing in mind this drew 250 people on November 6th in Nashville. Opening match saw the American Eagle number 2, Danny Davis, beat Wolfie D. Hubcap on a pole match, JC Ice beat American Eagle number 1, which of course was Ken Wayne. Little Eagle beat Midget D, but the hair wasn't on the line because he already lost his hair. Brian Christopher pinned Reggie B. Fine. Jeff Jarrett pinned Doomsday. So we just took the tag team match from the studio that morning, took it up the road to Nashville, put it in 2 singles matches. But then in the main event, what they were plugging on the TV show the week before, Jeff Jarrett and the Moondogs Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher fought the Moondogs to a no contest in the USWA Tag Team title match. So, that morning on TV, Koko B. Ware and Rex Hargrove are the tag champs, but that night in Nashville, Jarrett and Christopher are still the tag champs, and that title change is never going to even be acknowledged, because by the time we come back here, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. November 8th at the Mid-South Coliseum, they drew 1,000 people for a $6,600 house to see Reggie B. Fine pin Mike Anthony. Jeff Gaylord beat Boss Paul by disqualification. Couldn't even get him pins on that one.
We got to save Boss Paul now.
That's right. We got to keep his heat, brother. Doomsday beat Del Rios via countout. Del Rios, Jeff Gaylord, and Mike Anthony beat Doomsday, Doomsday, Paul Neighbors, and Reggie B. Fine. Sweet Georgia Brown beat Vicious Vicky. Little Eagle once again beat Midget D, which means he had to wear a diaper. The American Eagles beat PG-13 in a stretcher match. Miss Texas beat Toni Adams via disqualification in the chain match. Don Bass and Doug Gilbert beat the Moondogs, Spike and Cujo. Not Splat, it says. Maybe there'll be a story to why we switched out Splat. We'll see. And in the main event, Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher beat Rex Hargrove and Koko B. Ware to win the USWA Tag Team Championship. So Brian and Jeff held them for a week and lost them. Then they lost them for a week, and then they got them back. So there you go. So Nashville, Evansville, all those towns never even have to know that Jeff and Brian ever lost the belts. They probably don't even have to know who Rex Hargrove is, because he's going to be gone sooner rather than later. So there you go. And one other thing I want to talk about before we move to the plugs. I don't usually pay that much attention to the commercials during these shows, but these commercials are a little different because we're not watching WMC. We're watching from some other channel, I guess maybe the syndicated version. But did you guys catch this commercial? I swear to God, the first time this came on, this felt like a freaking Saturday Night Live parody skit.
You've heard his hauntingly beautiful music in movies, on radio and TV. He's sold over 20 million records round the world. His name is Zamfir, master of the pan flute, that magical instrument with the unforgettable sound. Now in his magnificent all-new collection, Zamfir plays the world's most beautiful melodies.
So I literally asked Richard, did he see this commercial right as we were entering the studio? Yeah. That's what we were talking about, I think.
Yeah.
Zamfir, master of the pan flute. Now you tell me that don't feel like a Saturday Night Live or an SCTV sketch from the 80s right there. Did we think anybody watching USWA wrestling was going to be a big fan of the old master of the pan flute and just have to have this?
I don't know, but I do know this. Around this same time period is when flea markets started. Like, just you started hearing them. They're selling CDs.
An Indian fella would be up there playing along.
Yeah, and like something about this pan flute craze started during this time period, and this guy is like the Beethoven of this, or the Mozart or whatever.
Could you imagine how much it sparked with the redneck communities? Like, I won't be good at an instrument, and then you get like Mark Smith, master of the kazoo.
Yeah, because I mean, this guy ain't just good at the pan flute; he's the freaking master.
Yeah,
okay, none better than Zamfir at the pan flute. But I just had to. I was like, I got to clip that. Jeez, like, sure, I know these guys noticed. I know you skimmed through the commercials, but if you caught any of that, you had to stop and go, whoa, wait a minute, what the hell is this?
But are we WrestleMania 3ing the goddamn level of record sales, though? 20 million? 20 million. That is like...
Not in America.
And what's he playing? Just... stuff that is this what Eddie Marlin was listening to the night he wrecked his car?
He's listening to Slow Ride on Plain Flute.
I was going to try to mock that, but I didn't know how to.
Yeah, it's just relaxing music that puts you to sleep in the car. That's great.
I hope they decide to cross promote, and maybe next week the American Eagles, their theme song will be played by the pan flute. Like, here's Zamfir playing, Final Countdown on the pan flute.
Here comes Little Eagle with that pan flute.
as Bill Midget D parades around in a diaper, we're going to have the pan flute playing in the background. It's going to be Naughty by Nature hip hop parade, but with the pan flute. You know how long it took us to find this on the internets? There ain't no internets. What am I talking about?
How much was that?
I cut it off before we got to the price. I'm guessing used to it was always $19.95, right?
And that's 1993 money.
Yeah,
4 easy payments, and it usually would be like 4 records, or you know what I mean? Like it'd be like 4 records of 4 easy payments of $5.95. And who was that? Some comedian used to say 3 easy payments and 1 extremely difficult payment.
Right,
like Carlin or somebody said that.
I want to buy that. I'm gonna find Zamfir.
Yes, hit eBay, folks, and see what Zamfir is going for. We did that when me and Bob Anderson was doing the OWF Whitey Jenkins Outlaw Wrestling show, where we were scouring the internet, finding horrible backyard wrestling and doing commentary over it like it was our promotion. We would go and show all these old commercials, and it'd be like, going south, and the fucking what's that one with the 2 hippies at the beginning of it? Damn it! But anyway, those old CD collections, play those because we claim we were playing those commercials because we had won an auction for we had won an auction for one of those storage units, and it was full of those old CDs, and so now we're selling them via the OWF show. It was our justification for showing all those old commercials. We had the clapper and all that old show. Had a fucking storage unit full of that shit we were selling, apparently. Those are all still online. Check this out, folks. It's almost as good as some of this USWA stuff here, but not quite. Make sure you listen to P3 Radio this week. We can't tell you what it's about because they haven't done it yet. They're fixing to as soon as I shut up and let them off of here. But make sure you check out this week's episode of P3 Radio and the literal hundreds of episodes that are out there. Like I say in the past, you could start listening to P3 Radio right now at the beginning, and it would take you a very long time to get through all of them. So we do encourage you to check out P3 Radio. It's you think some of the stuff they say on here is something, you should hear what they say on P3 Radio. I got to join them one of these days. I need to get some of that out of my system. I'm starting to say things on here I probably shouldn't say. So I should do that on y'all's show. We also want to encourage you, because people haven't done it for a couple of weeks now. Please call 256 Egg Iron and leave us a message of some description. We'd appreciate it. Check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com at Retro Wrestling Archive. Also, join the Patreon over there. We have a lot of cool content, including the Hot Mics post show that we do after the show. After this is done this week, we will be talking a little bit about night 1 of WrestleMania and the never-ending Hall of Fame that's probably still going on right now somewhere. You want to make sure and check that out. Also, I have a, if you join the 1 tier, you can get access to a Google Drive with tons of wrestling content, but namely the most Memphis wrestling content you're going to find anywhere in one place. It's all the Memphis content I can get my hands on. Still got to get KEW transferred and put up on there, but it's all the CWA, USWA, Power Pro, and other stuff on there. So check it out. I think you'll like it. Also, check out WrestleCopia.com for all sorts of great wrestling content, all the great podcasts that my buddy Ray Russell puts up over there. Each and every week, there's something for everybody at WrestleCopia.com. And I want to remind everybody, it's out now for pre-order. The Eddie Gilbert book, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, The Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling. You can find it for pre-order at the cheapest way to get it is to order it at tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book, because the shipping price is included in the price. It's $24.99. It includes shipping. But if you don't want to do that, it is now up for pre-order at barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, booksofmillion.com. All reputable book retailers have it available, so you'll be able to get it there right now. We'd love for you to check that out. Me and Doug's really proud of that book, and we hope everybody reads it. And speaking of Doug Gilbert, not only is he teaming up with Don Bass in 1993, but him and Tommy Rich are back in action. We've got Dangerous Conversations back up and going. The first episode back of Season 2 of Dangerous Conversations came out this past week. You can find it over at DougGilbertPodcast.com. It now lives on my YouTube channel, the one I just mentioned, youtube.com/@Retro Wrestling Archive, but you also can find it on Apple and Spotify and all that jazz. But the best way to do it is just go to DougGilbertPodcast.com and click the link of your choice, and it'll take you right to it. Also, come and see me and Doug and Tommy Rich at the WrestleCon, and also part of the TWA One and Done show in Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena, a.k.a. the ECW Arena, formerly, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Saturday, May the 3rd. We're going to be there. The guys are going to be wrestling Shane Douglas and a mystery partner on that show. Should be a lot of fun. Me and Doug are still trying to talk Tommy into jumping out of that crow's nest like Doug did back in the day as Dark Patriot. Tommy's not quite convinced, so if you can, jump on his Facebook and encourage him. No, please don't. We don't need Tommy jumping off of anything, but it's going to be a good time. I'm excited about that show. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a cool weekend hanging out in Philadelphia with Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich. And last but certainly not least, our very own Richard Mulligan. I have a feeling that maybe this is where he's been the last couple of weeks. He's out making moves for this big comedy show coming up at Cody's Bar and Grill in Jackson, Tennessee on Saturday, May the 10th. You can see Richard perform. You can see me perform. You can see a whole host of other very funny comedians performing at Cody's Bar and Grill, and you can get your tickets right now in advance. If you get them in advance, it's only $7. If you wait till the night of the show, you're going to pay $10. And even worse than that, you may not have a ticket. They may be sold out. We're planning on them being sold out, right, Richard? CodysComedy.eventbrite.com. I know you've been working hard on this. What can you tell us about this big event coming up in Jackson?
Man, dude, every free moment I have is spent thinking about this show here lately. I told y'all this week I had a nightmare that I woke up one day and then the show was like 5 minutes from starting and I didn't have anything prepared. So yeah, like I have everything about this show. I've been working on, thinking about, overthinking. But all of that to say, there's been a lot of time and effort put in, and it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a fun show. Josh will be there too. Josh is going to be sitting over in the corner selling lemonade or whatever he's going to be doing. We're going to figure it
lemonade.
out. Yeah, we're going to figure it out. But yeah, like it'll be a fun time. If you watch this show and you're in the area, come on out. You'll have some fun. So
yeah, come by and say hello. Mention that you watched the show. And we will get someone in Josh's family to take a picture of us all together.
Of your calves.
And at least one of us will have our head cut off.
Yes.
Probably Richard. Let's be honest. It's probably going to be Richard. But no, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to come check out the show. And yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Richard. It's a lot of work. And it just, doing comedy, that, we talked about this recently in the text group chat. Comedy, that lives in your head every moment of every day. Everything you hear, you think, is that funny? Is that something I could use? And you run it through a million different filters. Well, then when you got a show coming up, then you start thinking of, am I prepared for this? What if this happens? I need to do this? I need to be doing that. I need to be getting this ready. And then along the way, you're like, shit, I need to be coming up with my set. I need to be working on jokes, but I got to get the show ready. And, and then you get just inane questions. People going like, hey, man, or how many free people are we allowed? Do we get a free hamburger? Where do I have to park? What time should I get there? What time will we leave? Can my mom come? Are you going to cuss? And all these just weird questions. So it's a lot of work. I commend you for taking on the assignment. So
we'll see. We'll see if it happens again. So if it this might be like the one and done, like we just talked about. So
maybe like the old Good Hearts Wrestling show.
Yeah. So I mean, go ahead and get your tickets now because it might not happen again. But we'll see.
I've intentionally a couple of different times asked Richard questions like, so on the next one, you're like, well, hey, wait a minute, you're saying there's going to be the next one.
Yeah.
All right, folks, make sure you get those tickets now. Like I say, you might as well save a few bucks, right? And make sure you get a ticket. So join us. We would love to see you in Jackson, Tennessee on May the 10th at Cody's Bar and Grill. And we'd love to see you back here next week for another episode of the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast right here on WrestleCopia.com.